Greetings, greetings, family. We are live. Welcome, welcome to another edition of the Sister Shanice Show. Logging in slightly later than usual. Sincere apologies, family, but you don't know whenever I'm late, it's because of some technical challenges backstage. But the good news is that we are live. And as you can see, family, we have our guest in the house as well, our beloved brother Paul Obinna. Greetings, brother Paul.
Hello,
hey,
hello.
Big up the audience for me, big up the audience. Rise up, our family. So family, we've got another action-packed session for you today. If my lips are a little bit out of sync, again, apologies. You know, we're just working with the internet and the system that we've got at the moment. So spread the word, let everyone know that we are indeed here and we are live and direct. And I've got a little presentation for you at the that I wanted to bring at the beginning of this show. So let me just give our family 1 or 2 minutes to come through the door. And as you come through the door, I just want to rise you up. I just want to celebrate you. I want to thank you for being in the house today. You know, I recognize that you could be anywhere else right now, but you've decided to join us on the Sister Shanice Show. So I want to make this time count. I want to make, you know, the time that you spend with us educational, informative. I want to inspire you. My guest is going to be inspiring you as well. And I want to rise up the entire family, especially our African family, those abroad, those on the continent, wherever you are. We know only too well the trials and tribulations that we experience on a daily basis. And so just want to encourage you, just want to motivate you to keep going, There will be a better day. Every day is going to be a better day. So let's get an Alunamari high praise for that. Woo, woo, woo. So Sister Shanice in the house, and for those of you who are regular viewers of the Sister Shanice Show, you will know that my primary objective here is to, you know, bring education into your homes. You know, we're about reviewing the ideological, philosophical, and about decolonizing our minds. So all of my guests that I bring here do a huge amount of research, do a huge amount of work in their own time to bring to you, the family, the undiluted truth of our history. And wow, if you look at the backdrop that I've got behind me here, it's just part of the 9,000 years of history that this great man, Paul Obinna, has written about on his timeline scroll. Yes, family. He has a scroll that can cover one side of the walls or the other with all of our greats on it. Well, not all of our greats, but with many, you know, periods in time of our amazing history. So I'm really looking forward to the show that he's going to be bringing to us today, from the womb to the tomb. Okay, so put the word out, family. Please share the link. Let everybody know that we're here. You know, we're about the total liberation of our mind, of our people, of our motherland. We want to liberate ourselves spiritually, culturally, economically, religiously, philosophically. We want to be Africating ourselves, don't we not? We've suffered enough, family, over the last 6,000 years or so. And I know many of us are still traumatized, you know, from our experience, because we haven't had any proper healing. But there will be a better day. And the better day is here, actually, because when you think of where we were 500 years ago, when you think of where we were 200 years ago, 100 years ago, today is definitely a better day. So welcome as you come through the door. I'm just going to share a screen with you for a short while, because I'm really bad at promoting the works that I do. And, you know, it came to my mind today that I should remind my beautiful family about the book that I wrote late last year, called A Black king of Anglo-Saxon England. And the name of that king is King Offa. Yes, family, I actually did some research whilst I was studying on our brother Dr. Winters's research training course, and I decided to do some research into Anglo-Saxon England and, you know, uncovered some history, a huge amount of history actually that relates to us in Britain that has been totally covered up. So I want to rise up our beautiful Dr. Clyde, who was with us last strong as well, for encouraging me to do that research and encouraging me to do the book as well. I went through school, college and university in the UK and didn't know anything about the fact that there was a black monarchy here in the UK. King Offa is just one of many black kings that ruled England from even before Anglo-Saxon times. And so there's a huge amount of work that we need to do, family, to uncover this covered up history of ours. So just to let you know that you can actually get that book in Amazon. And I just want to read you one of the reviews that I got as a result of that, as a result of writing the book. And I want to thank our beloved brother Kirian for this review. Let's move it over so I can read all of it. He said, the book exemplifies Shanice Lindsay as a natural-born storyteller that engages her listening or reading audiences with drive and passion for her subject. Wow, wow, wow. Family, none of my teachers ever give you such a good compliment. All the years I went to school, college and university, none of them ever give me such a compliment. So I want to rise up, brother Kirian. Recognizes my storytelling abilities. Wow, wow, wow. I wish I knew I had that storytelling ability 10, 20 years ago. I probably would have written more books by now. Anyway, he said that she approaches bravely an obscure and hidden history of the British Isles with confident archaeological, historical, linguistic, and genetic data to maintain the integrity of her research. The writing is engaging, interactive, and easy to comprehend, despite the complexity of the history of King Offa. She creates an aspiration in readers to become future scholars, archaeologists, or researchers to uncover the missing or discarded historical pieces of the British Isles. Oh, wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much for that write-up, brother Kirian. And so I hope, family, that he has inspired you to get a copy of that book today from Amazon. There's always a birthday. There's always a reason to get a new book. And it is a really interesting, easy read. And I hope that after you read it, family, that you will actually be inspired. And someone else who I am inspired by, who I've already mentioned, is Dr. Clyde Winters. If you logged on last strong, wow, 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 we learned some new history about the Moors in Jamaica. There have been waves of us as Africans that have populated Jamaica, and he gave us some insight into the Moors that were enslaved from Spain that populated Jamaica. Well, such a history there, family. You need to go and check that out. I want to rise up Dr. Winters, who's always out there doing some new original research work. So do support his work. He's written over 30 books. I think it's over 30 or 40 books. Here's a couple of his books, family. Please do support his work so you can get his books on Amazon as well. And today, family, we have our beloved brother Paul Obinna in the house. He's not new to the Sister Shanice show. He has been on the show before. And the last time he was with us, he was learning us about the left side, the right side of the brain, and so much more. He had these really beautiful interactive slides that he created for us, and you can still find the video with all of that knowledge that he brought on my YouTube channel. It's there, just do the search. It's there alongside about 350 other videos that I've actually got on my channel at the moment. And so please do also support his works. When you go and find that video that he did, you can also get a link and information. I think it's his email address I left there for you all to get a copy of his scroll of 9,000 years of African history. Yeah, I've got several copies of it, and family, Great works indeed. My brother, you're holding your head. I hope I'm not giving you a headache.
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, just I'm a little tired, but I'm good. I'm
How
good.
comes you're tired? What are
Well,
you working on? Tell it with us.
I've just been doing the new timeline, and so I got a copy. I got a copy today. No, sorry, I got it on Friday. So I've got this. This is a kind of. This is just this celestial sky at the end, and so I've been working on these things for hours, and I tweak things, making sure the positions are right, and
You're
yeah,
the one that I've got, I still absolutely love. Family, family. This is the one before. If you can see
that's two ago. That's at least two ago.
Oh, I love it still. I pull it out and I look at the kings and the queens and I look at, our history on it. It's phenomenal. So there's a new one coming with even more history. What have you added?
Well, I've extended the celestial sky, which is looking at, ancestry, the power that we actually have. And if can I share the screen now? Is that okay?
Go ahead and share the screen. Yes.
So
let's get in.
If I share the screen, you can see me now. You can see that screen. So
we're looking at your desktop at the moment with all your little icons.
So this is the I'm hoping you can see that. This is just one page. And I had this on the last one, but here we're looking at the logo for AfricanAncestry.com to do the genetic search. This is the song by Duke Ellington and Herbert Martin. However, the brother who's there on the right-hand side is the guy who, it's the only recording of this song that was made. This is made for a South African play. And Tony Browder told me about this song, but I asked him, where is a recording? He said, no, there isn't one. But I was there one night digging, and this actor, this brother, actually sang the song at Duke Ellington's funeral. So I managed to find it. And it says, they say that people turn into stars when they die and live again in the midnight sky, that the summer rains are the tears they cry, that the wind in the plain is their lullaby to the ones that they love and a big goodbye. They say that they keep a bright, ever watchful sky on the moon-kissed world from their place in the sky. They say that people go there when they die and turn into stars, and so will I. So what's happening? Oh gosh, yeah. It's got, and remember, they only say that people fully die. They only die when no one calls their name.
Yes.
And I placed the thing here. My good friend Pascal Sawyers. This is an image of his mama, who has the four children, the four stars that she gave birth to. And then underneath she was a Christian, so underneath we got the fifth commandment, to honor thy father and thy mother, so that days might be long upon the land the Lord thy God giveth thee. So Exodus 20:12, King James Version. So if you follow the Christian pattern, it's telling you about ancestry. Because I was being told today by a sister, they poured libation at an event, and a lot of the Christians started saying, oh, we're going to have to see the pastor you never said you were going to do this kind of African libation and all this business. And this is people, well, yeah, but these are people who go through ritualized cannibalism and vampirism every Sunday, and it's called communion. But you see, when that goes on, there's underneath is Helena Petrova Blavatsky, and it says there that her quote was, there is no religion higher than truth. We may say truth is ma'at, coming from Kemet, but we're looking at the power of reason. And then underneath, it's a quote from the King James Version again. John 8:32 says, "Know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." So if you've only been given half stories. Sorry, what was that?
Sorry, I don't know. Carry on.
Okay. So it actually says underneath it in the center, it says, "Know yourself." And right along the new timeline is a DNA helix from the very front cover to the back cover. There's a DNA helix. What you see there is where it says "Know yourself" there's a reference to Descendants, which is the documentary that's actually on Netflix about the Clotilda, the last slave ship that was actually used after slavery was abolished in the USA, and they brought in a last lot of enslaved Africans. The brother you see there was the last living descendant of that trip. And Zora Neale Houston, she wrote the book on it. You see Zora Neale to the left. And so what I've done is put forward this idea about a personal libation protocol. And it's actually based on the formula cited by Dr. Kimani Nahusi in his book, Libation. So it gives you it says an African ritual and the heritage in the circle of life. And then it says here from the papyrus of Ani from 1250 BC, it says, "Pour libation for your mother and father who rest in the valley of the dead. God will witness your action and accept it. Do not forget to do this even when you are away from home. For as you do it for your parents, your children will do for you also." Now, what I want to do is on the bottom here, I just want to try and see if we can make this bigger. And there's some numbers there. There's some numbers there. So I'll put their ancestral genetic power. So from the self, you have 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 great-great-grandparents. But these numbers go to 32, 64, 128, 256, 512. 1,024, 2,048, 4,000. These are the number of people who are in your behind that went to make you.
Wow.
8,192, 16,384. That's off 15 generations. 32,768, 65,536, 131,072, 262,144, 524,288. In a total in 500 years that you mentioned before about getting better, 20 generations gives us 1,048,575 ancestors to make one person.
Wow, 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 wow. That is phenomenal. As I say, wow, 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 Rise Up Yoshi, he did a song, and in that song, he's captured some of my sayings like Grand Rising and like wow, wow, wow. I didn't realize I was saying it all the time, but you've just got a wow, wow, wow out of me. So I'm standing here and 20 generations behind, giving me 1 point something million ancestral ancestors to make me.
That's it.
What?
That's some ingredient, isn't it? That's some ingredient.
That's the genetic power that we have. That we can be tapped. And as we know, the DNA is in us. Their DNA is in us, isn't it? So,
well, the one that dominates is the mitochondrial DNA of the mother. But you see, what we've got here, there are 6 people there, and African Americans in this case. But these are people who I know of. Some are well famous, some are less famous, but they represent a spirit of standing up. And what I love as well, it's the spirit with which they spoke so confidently and competently in the face. They spoke, as you say, truth to power. So when we just lost Jim Brown, we lost Jim Brown from this life about 3 weeks ago, but we gained him ancestrally.
Yes, yes.
So your earthly loss becomes an ancestral gain. Now, what this they say is talking about, that people turn into stars when they die, is in actual fact from the pyramid text. Yeah, in Saqqara, not the pyramid of Saqqara. This is a smaller one. Of Linea. Oh no, sorry. For some reason, I've just gone blank. Is my tiredness? But the pyramid, where the pyramid text is underneath. Because I did a stupid thing. I tell people I got to think of the book of dumb stuff I've done. And I was on the visit to Saqqara, and the guide said, "Oh, go into this tomb." And there's a brilliant tomb there with all these, a tomb of a nobleman, and it's got all these deeply, very well carved images of the Kemites, all of them with dreadlocks, having locks, and they're fishing, hunting, doing all different things. But somehow, into this tomb, the sands got, and they removed all the color from the images. Somehow. But thankfully, there are still patches where you can see the original color.
I actually saw a documentary, Brother Paul, and in that documentary, there was a group of white artists who were in there coloring over the images. It was just like, you know, you get these in a documentary, you can just see something that was left in there that maybe you shouldn't have seen. It was just a glimpse of them in there. They had scaffolding in there, and they call it like retouching. They were retouching the art that we could.
Well, the idea is when they do that, you don't identify with it. It's to cause a simple thing that in communication terms is called interference. The idea is by stopping us pouring libation, by stopping us having ancestral reverence, it means they're keeping us here, trapped in the here and now, with all the influences around. So, for instance, because I'm not speaking on this tonight, but if you check when in fact, I was with some people today in Manchester, and this is 37 years ago. I was at an event at the Apollo Theatre in Manchester, and it was largely to a church audience. And I was going to start talking about the pharaohs in Kemet and whatever, but I could hear in my mind someone saying, "The pharaoh, him was wicked, him persecute Moses." And you see, I just say, when I hear that, I go like, which pharaoh? What's his name? They put the names on everything and whatever. So just to give you a quick thing, this I fire fast when it comes to things. If you check when Abraham arrives, when Abraham's in things, 1750 BC, it's the time of the Hyksos invasion. They were in northern Kemet, and there were pharaohs in northern Kemet. So when you're talking about Moses, maybe the pharaoh they were talking about doing the persecution was a Hyksos pharaoh, not one of ours.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm looking on these things, and then you got Cecil B. DeMille. Cecil B. DeMille makes a film, The 10 Commandments, that many black folk of age thought this is the actual word of God. And they went church trips, went to go and view that film, The 10 Commandments, with Charlton Heston as Moses and Yul Brynner as Ramesses II, Cecil Hardwick as Setai I. But the only thing is, when you check the history, Setai and Ramesses were 250 years later. They weren't even the same time. But you see, this is what they can do, is give you a thing, throw some historical, this fact, that fact, this doctor, this professor, that, and whatever, and you switch off and don't start thinking for yourself, critical thinking. And so this is why I had to put these things through. But the idea is that when you're doing your critical thinking, we have to have this idea of the Jegna. The Jegna is someone who is someone who's gone through, walked across the hot sands, has the experiences, is trying their best to improve all the time. So physically, you may lose your prowess, your energy, whatever, you know, your physicality. But what's supposed to become sharper is the mind. That's supposed to always go. Me, I love Thunderbirds when I was young. Used to watch that show, Thunderbirds, the puppet. Thunderbird 2, when Virgil flew Thunderbird 2 and it went off. And as it took off, the carriage dropped off, but Thunderbird 2 kept on rising. That's what we're supposed to be doing mentally. So these are the kind of dynamics that maybe, yeah, there's things going on in the atmosphere that's stopping that progression. Yeah, stopping us reaching those higher levels. But we can always try. By the way, it says here, there is an elder who's, I think he's maybe touching 100 now. He's getting on in years. He's called Neely Fuller.
Oh,
And it has now what he calls the 10, it's the 10 areas. It used to be 9, but it's the 10 areas of people activity. And along the line in the celestial sky, I've put number 5, which is law, and number 6, which is politics. And those are 2 things that we really, really should be getting on top of: law and politics. And so it's the Jegnot, you say the Jegnot are the collective, the women, the men. We should be, well, not should. It's that improvements and the responsibility of refining ourselves and gaining power and tapping into what, how many can you see? Can you see? 1,048,575 of 20 generations. And let me ask you that. That's 500 years. How long have your people been around? How many thousand?
wow, hundreds of thousands, possibly millions.
So you see, these are the dynamics that we need to be looking at, that genetic potential and waking that kind of dynamic up. Anyway, this is what I'm talking about tonight anyway, so I shut that down.
It's fantastic. So what I'm going to do is just introduce you very briefly. Actually, no, what I'll do first is just greet the audience. Welcome, audience. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've already got off to a wonderful start with our beloved guest today, Jay Taipat. Thank you so much. Sister Afri Jamo, welcome. Ahiman, welcome in the house. Kimani's in the house. Daryl's in the house. Everybody's bigging us up, Brother Paul. Rise up, rise up. Hunters in the house. Yes, keep rising. They are saying to us, Kimani says, rise up, Baba, Obinna, powerful, you know.
Thunderbird 2.
Thunderbird 2. Yes, you know, see if you can see in the chat as well. Amiman says, and then hunted him for knowing the secret. So there's a bit of a conversation going on there. So we welcome each and every one of you. Blue Zodiac, we welcome you. Knowledge never sleeps. Absolutely, indeed. And Power Week Awakening is welcoming all of the Big One family in the house and saying, Hotep, black at you. Hotep, black at you, indeed. Okay, so let's go straight into the presentation from our beloved brother. I know some of you are familiar with our brother Paul Obinna. I know he's not a stranger to the Sister Shanice Show platform, but to those of you who may not be aware of our brother, maybe has not you know, watched his fantastic videos before, and if you haven't, you really must. It takes you on a huge learning curve. Yeah, you know, you need to check out his work. Okay, just before I was coming on, I had to shut my computer down because it was just running so slow. I think I've just got too much stuff on my computer, and I realized that also when I shut down your bio, my brother. And so rather than hold up the show, do you mind if I ask you to introduce yourself to our beloved audience?
I'm a teacher.
Tell us a bit more about yourself. Please do. Go ahead.
I'm 6'2" and eyes of green. That's about it. No, it's yeah, I've been as a teaching is like first thing I taught was martial arts at 15, and then I've been I was school teaching since 1987. I qualified in 1987, so as a school teacher, but then was always having to find ways to communicate with some of the rascals I was teaching in Manchester. So that's where it comes from. I work in prisons as well. So yeah, I've been doing that since 1989. So
and tell us a little bit about you. Why was martial arts so important to you in your early days growing up?
oh, because I was raised in a town called Blackburn in Lancashire, I was born in 1959. So it was quite, they were very honest back then. There's no kind of political correctness and people skin teeth and lying through them. They won't call a spade, they call a spade a Negro. So even though I'm not dark, they made do because there weren't many black people around then. So the guys in the town were mixed race. There were 5 of us in the town of 155,000 who were out on the street doing knocking about and whatever. So you became a schmoozer or a fighter. So that's how I became a fighter. So that's my background basically. But my heritage is my mother's English, my father's Igbo. So I was British, Nigerian, or if you want to put it that way around.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
Yeah. So I married home, as they say. I did my banco. I went to Nigeria, did my thing, did all the traditional thing, but obviously I wasn't. What is it? Tony Braxton saying he wasn't man enough for me. Is that it? Tony Braxton. So he wasn't man enough for me.
A bit of it, Don. How's it go?
Is it? I think he wasn't man enough. It's some song like that. I keep for some reason. Anyway. So
yeah,
I am.
But yeah, I try to catch it. But anyway, yeah.
So anyway, that's the thing. So my thing has always been to find out the things I was never told. So that my drive has been to find my African side. I'm quite adept at British history, European history, etc. I'm very kind of sharp on that. I catch quite a lot of European people out with that because they think if you're talking well, that you mustn't know that. But no, sir, I've always loved history, full stop. So we look at the relationship between the two. So yeah, which I've got to say, over the last 500 years, not been too fair, but it's one of those things. But who started it? Same Moors, the Moors you were mentioning before. You have to look out the Moors and the Turks, and the hell we caught back, the kickback on it. Yeah. Is a different history. Not the history the British are going to teach you, because they're going to teach you a thing called white supremacy. Where they're always going to be I'm not talking all the people, of course. We're talking those who are dominating in the fields of education, and they give this kind of we didn't do anything wrong, everything we did was good, and so therefore we can't anybody look at that, we brought you civilization. So I'll show you little bits of that tonight as well to show you the civilization.
That's the biggest lie from the pit of hell. But this is why we need to know our history. So I'm going to thank you so much for that introduction, my brother. Apologies that I couldn't find, that my computer's so slow and wasn't able to bring up your bio so I could do it for you. So family, you've heard a little bit about who our brother is. You've heard from him. We're going to go over now to his presentation. So those of you who are just joining us, Tuka Pamoja, Amiman, our brother Malanga, Kwame Oboje, to all of you in the house, Sister Afrijamo, welcome. Please take in all the learning that our brother is bringing to us today, because he's a man who does his research and he goes deep. Over to you, beloved.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Hi, everybody. And thank you for the invitation back. I hope to do this justice. What time do we finish tonight?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
So
Okay.
we've got an hour and 15 minutes, but you might want to leave a bit of time for our audience to interact with you.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to start off with this thing. This is a thing I call the corral. The corral. The corral, I use this symbol for it. It's an enclosure for horses, cattle, etc. An enclosure for capturing wild animals. It's a state, and I use it to mean a state of unconsciousness produced to maintain a restricted, confused, and dehumanized mentality. Because you must remember a simple thing, that enslavement and colonization, I always say enslavement's the away leg, colonization's the home leg, if you follow football. And so you can be made a slave in your own land, and they call that colonization. And so I use the symbol of a decagon. Why a decagon? Is a 10-sided shape. And the 10, base 10, is representing the time capture of decade, century, and millennium. So nearly all the time, it's like I meet people who can, they can, in general, they'll talk about the 50s, 60s, 70s, or back in the noughties, it was like so and so. And when I hear people talk like that, I go, damn, I'm getting old. I'm getting so old now. But then what happens is, if you look on the things like the History Channel, they'll start focusing a lot of the time, they call it the Hitler Channel, because they go to the Second World War. But today I was in a meeting in Moss Side in Manchester, and there was a sister there telling me that they were talking to youngsters who are of Caribbean heritage, and they didn't know what the Windrush was.
Oh,
Even
no.
with all the things that have been in the press and whatever, they were not clear what the Windrush was. So there we have a thing called the World Wide Web, which we know that Black people were involved in developing, especially Philip Emeagwali, the Igbo brother lives over in DC. But what do we search for when we go on the World Wide Web? I'll get to something with that in a little while. So I use this thing, the corral. To me, it's a very, very important, because it's about mindset. This goes back into very ancient terms, and there's a man called he was known as the father of the modern science of politics. His name is Niccolo Machiavelli. And Tupac Shakur was a rapper who advertised that person because he recorded on the name Machiavelli. And remember, Tupac was actually schooled by his mother and stepfather, Afeni and Matulu, because he was conscious, very conscious, did some crazy stuff, but conscious. And so we look at the world every time we're looking at how do we think, how do we believe, how do we act? A lot of the time we've been affected by what I call the decagon. It's the restricted mindset. I'm going to be talking something on that. So I use this thing, the alchemic structure. Alchemy is a medieval forerunner of chemistry concerned with the transmutation of matter. For those of you who know Yoruba tradition, we're talking there about Ogun, to transmute, to bring about change. So, for instance, one of the symbols they use is that we use in the Yoruba tradition is that of the blacksmith and the anvil, to transmute, to change the states of metals from one form to another, in a form into another form. They also use him to represent technology. And I was blessed. I didn't realize at the time, but in my background, I was in actual fact an engineering apprentice, and I was a metallurgist. So we used to do hardening and tempering of steel, and changing the nature of steel to fit its purpose. So this change, the idea of alchemy is to bring about change. Alchemy is changing from one state to another state. the most natural thing you can think about is, have you noticed the weather started getting hot? And people say, people say, oh, it's summertime. No, it ain't summertime. It's not summertime yet. It's not summer until June 21st. We've got another week to go. But then a lot of us don't understand the changes of the seasons are actually come at certain dates. That's how they acknowledge those seasonal changes. And they're actually structured. And we have the time, this time now we're going from spring into summer. Then we'll go from autumn to winter. The plants evolve through spring and summer, and then they involve in autumn and winter. So we don't stay spring all the time, but we've been raised in a culture and society that tells us that we're always in a state of evolvement in the European world. And that things can only get better, can only get, well, yeah, that's what, and this is what we think. We're supposed to be doing that? No, we have to know there are highs and there are lows. That's why we have myths like the myth of Osiris Set to tell us there are times where, yeah, we're in the balance of Ma'at, but we're moving into Isfet. But unless we understand these cycles and that a next cycle will come through, we'll always think it's always been this way. Black people just can't do. You know, these other people around the world, they always, well, everybody has their time under the sun. That's what the basic message is. And we need to be thinking, having critical thinking. So if you watch this, you ever go to the House of Lords, you go into the robing room that the king got, now it's going to be the king. Every time he goes in and puts his robes on, he's actually on the wall. They have the myth of King Arthur. Not a historical figure, but a myth. And it has words like courage. Sorry, I can't remember the key words, but I have key words from the myth of King Arthur, and they're up. So when the king's there putting his robes on, he's watching all around that room. He's got those key words. Yeah. Oh, by the way, before he arrives, you do know about the hostage. Do you know about the hostage situation, Sister Shanice? Do you know that?
What? No.
The hostage.
Who's been made hostage? Tell me.
No. When every time the king or queen comes to the House of Lords to address Parliament, a member of the House of Commons has to go to Buckingham Palace as a hostage and stays there until the safe return of the king. You didn't know it? You didn't know it?
No, I didn't.
What? That's pure gangster. Pure gangster.
Return. What would happen to the hostage?
Well, exactly. This is the whole thing. That it's gone to ritual now, but back in the day, he would be killed.
Yeah.
And this comes from the English Civil War, 1649, when they chopped off King Charles' head.
Oh.
And then you had the Restoration period. So there's all kinds of stuff here that will tell you about this. For instance, the color code in the House of Lords is red. The color code in the House of Commons is green. Gangster. The political parties all flag. Labour, red. Conservative, blue. Democrats, orange. Gangster. Oh, and the Green Party. Gangster. Yeah, so don't be looking every time you're looking around and you're considering, oh, this is crazy in the black community. No, we've learned well. It's there's things that go off with there. So it's all gone to ritual now.
They give their gangs a fancy name, don't they?
Well, look at that. When they want to go around robbing, if they're going to go around robbing, they call it colonization.
Yes.
If you want to kidnap people, they call it enslavement.
Yeah.
If you want to see their crazy behavior of taking over everywhere and they're just ripping everybody off, they call it imperialism.
Yeah.
But then if you do those on an individual basis, you're a thief, kidnapper, robber, or whatever. Psychopath, sociopath. There's a book by Bobby N. Wright, called The Racial Psychopathy. Small book, very powerful. The racial psychopathy. You should have a check. It's an essay that he did back in the 1970s. Very powerful book. In fact, I think I may actually have it here. I tidied all my little book collection. I lost all my books at one point, but that's a story in itself. Well, yeah, the racial psychopathy. Check that out. It tells you. It starts off. It says that in a bullfight, because if you go to Dr. Welsing's book, ISIS Papers, she looks at the ritual of bullfighting, the execution of the black male, and it says in a bullfight, after making numerous charges against a cape, so the only movement is there, and the only movement is the bull's heaving bloody sides, because it's been brutalized. But then they believe it's the first time that the bull truly sees the matador, because it's been chasing a cape. And so what happens is, and this is what I'll get to in a second, we keep chasing after all these different capes that are put forward. So Bobby Wright said it's now time for us to kind of wake up before it's too late, smell the coffee, and see the matador for what it is. So just let me do this very quickly. The idea in alchemy is to turn base metals like lead into gold. So there was a whole, the alchemy was a belief that they could transmute these changes and have base metal, turn them into something more what they say, more to generate more wealth, etc., from nothing. Now, is finding of a universal elixir as well. They're always talking about getting an elixir that could maintain your life for long times. So what I've done here, you're going from lead to gold, but beyond gold is platinum. So just this is a thing here. We have the decagon there, and then at the base here, we need to learn history, but you also need to know about your brain hemispheres. Think about what they didn't teach you in school. You said before you didn't get praise in school, and now someone's praising you for writing a book. I know sure as shit I did not get anything about my brain in school. I might have got brain damage with the board duster hitting it. That'd be about it. But yeah, I didn't get taught anything about the brain. But it's only through martial arts that eventually I got it. Thanks to Bruce Lee, Enter the Dragon. I have to watch the right opening, the beginning few scenes. And he talks about emotional content. That's for another time. So from the ground level, that's the basement, that's the foundation, is to have a sense of history, to know what history is, and then get aware of the brain hemispheres, and then you start a more powerful understanding. Then the bronze is to start expanding your consciousness. So for instance, the only thing I learned about Black people in school, it was around 1974, and it was one lesson, and it said, once upon a time, there was a thing called slavery done by some bad white people, and then a nice white man called Wilberforce came along and ended it. Done. That was it. And so, as I remember it, the guy who became my brother-in-law actually taught me that class.
Wow.
So it's like, I look back on that, I laugh about these things. So the teacher restricted history, then some people break out of the restricted history where you've been Christianized, and they'll go back to an Islamic history where you were Islamicized. So, and those are the two reasons, motivations. I'm not saying for 1 second the people who did that were either Christian or Muslim. I'm saying that it was a political expediency. The people used those faiths politically to enslave and to justify their aggression and usually taking over land or people, etc. So I don't get into arguments with people. I just say, well, what were your people doing there? Why were Europeans in Africa? Why were the Arabs in Africa? Why were they changing the mindset of people and telling them, oh yeah, you got to do this, and getting them to look outside of Africa?
Mhm.
And that's what you have to do to get hold of people's minds. So the song Expansion, do you remember Lonnie Liston Smith, Expansions?
That name, yeah.
So if you check the song, Lonnie Liston Smith, Expansions, major track, about 1981. And on his cover of if you see the album, in the bottom left-hand corner, now I've been looking at that song, I've been looking at that cover since 1981. 3 years ago, approximately, my friend had it on in his apartment on his big TV screen. And I looked and I went, wait a minute, that's Hagia Sophia, the Church of Holy Wisdom from Istanbul.
Whoa.
I was like, damn. And the first time I saw it. And worse than that, I did a session down in Bristol at the planetarium. I was playing that track before the session I was doing, and the guy there said, "Oh, Expansions, Lonnie Liston, young brother. He's a young guy. He's about 26 years old." And he said, "Oh, he performed here 6 months ago." And I was like, "Damn." Expand your mind to understand. That's how that's talking. Expansions. Yeah. You can't do it off a little piece of 400-year history or 1,400-year history, because someone else has been controlling you throughout that thing. It's about expanding out and searching. See the things you've done wrong and the things you've done right, and understand everything. Good, bad, happy, sad. Table it all. So on this level, that's how I call it history with a Y. History with a Y means womb. Hist is womb, as in hysterectomy, hysterical. Hysterical, by the way, when you lose it, you're like, that means to act like a woman. Very cheeky term. In Jobson, 1604 said matters to or pertaining from the womb. So they say about crazy females, all those kind of stuff coming back then. But remember, 1604, that's when women were being called witches, were hunted down, witch hunts, etc., and domesticated until they got them there and then exploded the population. Get to that in a little bit. So that's a mindset against the female. And by the way, during that time, 1480 to 1780, it's exactly the same time they were practicing the enslavement of Africans. Anything that's black and anything that's female is getting it. Yeah, so please check that angle out. I'm talking angles here. So as a martial artist or a boxer, you start to throw shots. You have to get your angles off to either defend yourself or make your moves. Get your angles. Don't just look at the way they're coming at you and saying, oh, this is how this is. Let it go past and have a look at it. Ole! Because that's what the bullfighter does, isn't it? And when you're being charged, move, have a look at the different angle on it. That's why I got the lineage timeline. At this level, is to expand consciousness. So instead of having 400 years of history, we can have 8,400 years of history and consider it from that. And then when you get, please, I say, when I get this produced and you start to, you buy it, I look forward to the day you turn around and say, Brother Paul, this is bullshit. This timeline only goes to 6,450. I want the timeline going back to 28,000 BC. I want the timeline that, for instance, this is the precession of the equinoxes, which is a cycle around 25,800 years. And we're going from Pisces to Aquarius now, which will arrive in around 2050, depending on which structure you're using. That means we only been through, since 6,450 BC, we've only been through 7 of the ages. We still got another 5 to go to do one circuit. So think about the expanding the consciousness of that. And then someone turn around and tell me, oh, yo, that's a long time ago. I said, what? Mate, I got a thing here. Was it? I got a timeline in here. I did 850 million years.
Wow.
And that one is just looking at the geological ages that geologists look at. Dinosaurs are like, if I go like this long, dinosaurs are here.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you try and get your head around that kind of thing.
So repeat that again for us, Brother Paul. So ecologists are looking at a timeline of how many years?
Geologists.
Geologists.
These are, like Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Jurassic is just one of the ages. Cambrian is another age. Triassic is another age.
Mm-hmm.
And those ages are going like, the ones I've got on a continuum is 850 million years.
850 million years.
I made a mistake. And I'm going to confess. I'll confess. I was at my mother's. I just come back separated. I just come back from Brazil. I'm at my mother's. I get into this thing. I said, let me get into it. The only time I was going out was to get a bit of food and a bottle of drink. And I was immersed for I think it was about 9 days or something like that, doing nothing else but this timeline. Yeah. I put it together. I set it up. Sorry?
Only 9 days to do it.
Yeah. But I'm talking 9 days. I'm talking like 2-3 hours sleep. That's how I tend to work. Very little sleep and just get on with it and whatever. And then what happened was, when I got it through, I sent it off and got it printed. I tried to get back into 9,000 years. And I was like, wow, this is, okay. Because my head had to open up to do it.
Yeah.
Understand me? So then when you get into these things about talking about Atlantis and Lemuria and these structures going way back and everything, and you're like, okay, I could handle that then. That was not bad. Then I don't know if you know H.P. Blavatsky, who was on the thing, who said there's no religion higher than truth. Please have a look at Blavatsky. There's a concept called root races. To me, they're very interesting because they go over millions of years, but it's about human evolvement in that time. So it's Blavatsky and it's root races. Just have a look at those things.
How does he spell his surname?
Bavlatsky. SKY, Blavatsky.
Root races.
Yeah. Of course, when you look at it, people will turn around and start saying, oh, it's satanic. Because they're not talking the Christian line or the Islamic line. So when she's saying there's no religion higher than truth, she's saying, what's the old thing? Tell the truth and shame the devil. Because the devil's a liar. And so I'm looking on these things. I'm saying about doing things with integrity. Yeah, integrity. So getting this idea of expanding your consciousness out to look at, understand, and embrace different ideas around the world, also ideas about yourself. So like I said to you a few minutes ago, please don't get to this thing about black innocence and white guilt, because there's certain black folk have gone on and they have slaved white people before the white people slaved them. But remember, the Romans were slaving white people. In fact, the word slave is Slavic. It's not to do with black people. But the process is that, and please be careful as well, that when you go and see these images that they say, oh, there's a slave in Africa. Sometimes those are prisoners of war.
Right. Yeah.
Who were put to work. And then you get people saying, oh, well, no, they were prisoners of war. Well, no, they were slaves. There was no war declared. They just went and took them. Yeah, across Trans-Sahara especially. I know it's Professor James Small. I remember he likes to say, no war was ever declared on Africa. But that war on our consciousness, to enslave our consciousness, that has certainly been done. In actual fact, more and more, I keep looking at the, please check this. The word education, I tell everybody this, education's got two roots in Latin. One's educare, one's educere. Is it Latin or Greek? No, I think it's Latin. So it's adukare, E-D-U, then C-A-R-E, adukare, and then there's adusere, aduse, E-D-U, then C-E-R-E. Simply put, adukare means to form, to mold. So it's like outside in learning, where you sit down, you're shown something, this is what you're going to do, this, and this is how you do it, and whatever, and then you're tested how well you have formed, what you've taken in and absorbed that knowledge. Adusere means to lead out your genetic potential, which is sometimes you just have to find your square root, but it's to give you the guidance and the self-control and the calm to tap into that dynamic within you. Now, all I know is when I was at school, we didn't get much adusere. We got enough adukare. Yeah? But there's an old thing. I think it's, is it Psalm 46, verse 10? I think it's I always say 46:10. My mom always had this on the thing. My mom was a strong Christian. My dad was a Plymouth Brethren Reverend. My mom was secretary of a missionary society. I was a cathedral choir boy for 5 years, from 8 years old to 13. Hence my angelic nature. So what, especially being called Paul as well. Now, what happened is this, that she had this thing, it said, be still and know that I am God. That's 46:10, Psalm 46, verse 10. Be still and know that I am God. I didn't learn it from Christianity, and I didn't realize I learned it from Zen in doing my martial arts. So that stillness and that calm, where you see take a look at those Kemetic figures, and they're sitting there.
They know their gods. Yeah.
So some people turn around and say, Zen, going back, that calmness within. So all my classes when I was in Manchester, in Moss Side, days of craziness going off, Gunchester days and all of this business. Guys who were running packages and whatever, gang membership when they were young, because we were in a Doddington school. And so what happened is, when we were on that thing, you can ask all those guys, I was ruthless, I was horrible. But I tell you what, they began every single session and finished every single session with me with meditation, breathing. Every single time, calm. They crossed the threshold and had to breathe out every single time. So watch this, a Muslim child, a Muslim full stop, when they go to do anything, they're supposed to use a thing called niyyah, which is there, that means intention. So you do, everything you do is with intention. Yeah, the older you get, the more experience. When you get that jegna shit, when you become a jegna, or some used to call the word mentor, we don't deal with that. When you get to be a jegna, it means you're even more proficient at that and can show that to other people as well. Not by telling, but by demonstrating. Do you see what I'm saying? It's demonstrating, not telling, oh, you should this, you should that. Let them watch your ass. Let them see you, what you're doing. And when you're prepping. So anytime I go and do a session, I don't like if I go and do a session live, I don't let anybody see me set up. Which means I have to be there when?
Earlier.
I have to be there early. Remember the word early begins with the word ear. And it's the word ear, yeah, that listens to get you out your pit in the morning. So you get there, but then watch this. If I get there and I have to set up in front of people, I've got to look so cool in how I'm doing it, so I look like I know what I'm doing. You understand me? Don't get me wrong. I've done sessions with some naughty boys where I fumbled and put myself over, like Bruce Lee in Fist of Fury, dressed as a telephone engineer, going into the Japanese karate school. I'm going in there like that and looking at the top of my glasses and looking like this. And then you see these young guys going, oh, who's this dickhead? Who's this? Da. And then when I stand up and go, good afternoon, guys, how are we doing? And they go like, whoa, got different energies there, you see? So there's all those kind of dynamics with age. that's when we should be getting on with those dynamics. If you see what I'm saying, that's it. We get on with those dynamics. That's what a Jegna does, a person of character, develop character. Yeah. So expanding your consciousness out to actually draw into potential and get that potential going on, that's a major thing to do. Yeah, so that's what the history gives us. So the history on the base, I do kare, outside in learning, learn about the brain. I do history with a what? I do sere, bringing that power and potential out. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the next one, silver intention, is healing. Because if we've been through the 400 years of slavery, 500 years of slavery, 1,400 years of slavery, etc., we've got healing to do. Because we passed that on genetically to the next generation. So there's healing to be done. And then, so underneath that, that's where we lose the life cycle and lifeline. So some people like to say, care from the cradle to the grave. We have to go before that, the womb to the tomb. Yeah, cradle means the child's born outside. Yeah, it's got to come out from the mother. But then sorry, someone just here. Just give me a second, please.
Okay. All right. So family, I'm taking this in, absorbing it all. And yeah, if you look behind me, actually, the images I've got behind in terms of expanding our mind and expanding our history, you know, these are just some of our Asian African rulers, you know, that we don't learn anything about. So that expansion, you know, the information is there. Oh, good. You're back.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry.
So okay.
So you see, with the idea of going into the healing, if you've been fighting for instance, I mentioned before Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee, when he died, was 33 years old Chinese age and 32 years old European age.
Oh.
Reason being, they class the 9 months as a year inside the mother in Chinese tradition.
Oh.
So you see what goes on is that if you've been going through your life and you've been getting hammered, there's all kinds of stuff happened and whatever. Check this now. It's what we've inherited. Remember, the word inherit means in her. It is in her. So you can be having karmic experience coming through in you. And sometimes I watch it. I watch certain children, I watch certain people like Duppy have them. There's something in them ass. And you go like, what's it? And you go like, what? But something's just there with them all the time. And it's like, can't do right. They can't get this right, that right, whatever. Yeah. So that healing element, very powerful, very, very much needed.
Yeah.
And so the life cycle work becomes a very important dynamic to have a structure to work to consider what we've been through, what we're going through, and what we go through in the future. A lot of personal development gurus about now, whole heap of people can get on with that. But let me say this to you. I know a whole heap of people, they think that because they know history, they think that because they have this idea that, oh yeah, well, we did this, we did that, and blah, 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 blah. They think, therefore, well, that's it. There's nothing else to learn. But that dynamic of the self, damn, maybe I can just turn around and say, maybe it's just me. But I know about the layers that occur on the damage that's been done. Yeah, so it forms layers over the red nucleus, they call it. This is a work of Pat Newton, Dr. Patricia Newton. So even before Joy DeGruy, she was doing this thing. Post-traumatic slavery disorder is what she called it. Joy DeGruy calls it post-traumatic. Yeah. So next level here. Control and focus. Oh, I've got a really bad feedback going on now. Oh, it's not. It's okay. It's gone now.
Myself on mute.
So check this. The gold, the symbol of the Sphinx, Heru Maket, the Sphinx. I maintain the Greek spelling because the Sphinx is a root word to asphyxiate and sphincter. You know the sphincter muscle that's in your anus and 2 in your eyes, in the pupils. And remember, Heru is associated with the eyes of Heru, the eye of the sun, the eye of the moon. But the sphincter, remember the sphincter in the eye opens and closes with light. And we talk about people being bright, light, bright, brilliant. So they have a brilliance about them. But a lot of the time it's this interaction with wisdom. And they call the light wisdom. And so what happens is I use the word sphinx because there's another way we use it, that asphyxiate means to grip. In the riddle of the Sphinx, if you didn't get the riddle of the Sphinx correct, they throw you off a rock. So remember it said, what has 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon, and 3 legs in the evening? And it's the baby on all 4s, the adult walking on 2 legs, and then the one with a walking stick. That's talking about the evolvement of the human being through the stages of life. The Sphinx, that when you asphyxiate, it means to grip the windpipe. We know, for instance, in Kemet, they use the symbol of the windpipe and lungs to represent the river Harpi, which was the Nile River, which was the lifeblood of Kemet. And the relationship between the people, the human beings, the animals that were by the river, etc., all those dynamics were put into account. So I say to this, keep the Sphinx in mind and get to grips with yourself. Get to grips. That's a lion's paw, human head on the body of a lion. Get to grips. They don't use that expression in the States, by the way. You say get to grips to them. They go, what? What? They don't use it, right? Now, every time I've got my shrine over here, and a couple of times I've got to admit I wanted to do some badness to somebody. But right in front of my eyes, I have a little statue of the Sphinx. And when I look it in the face, I go like, yo, man, why do you have to be here? Damn. And I have to go off and let go another way. You understand me? But not be drawn into that ill will. Yeah? Is that the self-control? So the Sphinx, the book I use, the book I recommend is the Kabbalion, written by the 3 initiates. Now, this is a book, it's Hermetic principles, right? Hermetic principles. Of course, we know Hermes is the Greek name for our own Chehuti, or Thoth, they go Hermes, Thoth. So it's Mercury, Hermes, Thoth, Chehuti. You get what I'm saying? And here we're talking about the wisdom, the relationship with wisdom, but he's actually deified a lunar deity, whereas we're talking in the inner world. So he's twinned with Ma'at. And so there's this relationship in the head. So the Kabbalion, some wonderful, wonderful thing. They have the law of rhythm. Do you remember a song by Grace Jones called Slave to the Rhythm? Do you remember that song?
I do, yes.
She did this absolutely crazy performance at the Queen's birthday where she hula hooped and sang that song. But what it is, that the properties of the right hemisphere, if you get caught in there and people go like that, they go like, you're crazy. Grace is crazy. And she was spinning that thing round, and they're talking the law of rhythm is the pendulum swing from positive to negative. Mm-hmm. That's the law of rhythm. And to keep us trapped in the negative swing is one of the key things that happens. That's what when you're looking at the corral status, to keep us corralled in the negativity. But once you've got this settled there, at the top we have platinum, the ascension. Listen, none of my business. It's none of my damn business. What that is anything that any means that you think you need to do, and that's your means. Whatever means you're using to get there. I got no big, well, it's like me saying, well, the only way to get to London is by the plane, is by a plane. And then someone said, no, it's train. Or someone says automobile. Someone says cycle. No, you can walk it. No, I run it. I paraglide. I parascend it from the top of Ben Nevis. Or so. People argue, isn't the main thing about getting to London? Not the means. And people argue over those things. It's about how well we can do within us. So in Igbo, we say yes to your chi. Your chi is the internal, your destiny, about who and what you got. So you say yes to your chi and allow yourself to flow. So this is the dynamic of what I say, jegnaship is a constant learning. It's a rising. We want to go to that, but you have to have the foundation in place. I've got to say to you, I admit at the moment, because of my lifestyle, I've not been doing the exercises I should be doing, the diets I should have. My diet's not too bad, actually, but I've not been doing the things that I need to be doing. And that's the next on the menu, is me doing self-care. Is that all right so far? Are we all right so far?
Yes, we are indeed. Check with the audience. Are we all right so far, audience? Let us know. We'll come back to the audience in a short while because they're like a minute behind us.
Okay. Well, I'm going to fly now with this. So the corral rational containment, or intellect, is what you call intellect. So this is where it's very ego kind of led. And so we have things like issues of race, gender, class, politics, war, sex, sexuality, slavery, economics, history, law, entertainment, capitalism, religion, socialism, poverty, disease, fear, colonization, colonialism, and failure. These are just some. So can you imagine that every time they want to distract us, they pop one of these forward?
Wow.
And so every time you got to watch in the news, north, east, west, and south, the news, what kind of news they're giving us. And then all of a sudden, yesterday, now don't get me wrong, I'm not decrying what happened, but a guy kills 3 people in Nottingham, and for some reason, it's center stage, where people are getting murdered all over this country or every day. So why is there a special focus on that? Now, I wonder what else is happening that we're not looking at, and the media is telling us to look over here rather than over there. So this is the dynamic of, I say, rational containment is to keep us embedded in this frame, into this corral. And I just ask people to think critically on what's going on. So, for instance, did you? I think I said this about a year ago. Have you noticed? You know Vladimir Putin's getting a Nobel Peace Prize? Do you know that?
No, I didn't know.
You don't hear that?
No.
No, seriously.
No, we're not discussing that here on the continent where I am.
No, but he's getting a Nobel Peace Prize for ending COVID.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't remember that? As soon as that war in Ukraine started, all the news went away from COVID.
No, I don't remember that.
My gosh! Well, this is the kind of thing that we need to aware of. And say thank you, Mr. Putin, for ridding us of COVID.
Oh, I get it. I just woke up. I just fell in.
Oh, okay. So this is the life context. This is the life cycle. This is the diagram. And so what we do is start here. You start with Irondu, a Igbo word. It means plan for life. Irondu, plan for life. And then we have here, we are spiritual beings, have a human experience. This is a Roman Catholic priest called Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, who was in actual fact, he was silenced by the Vatican for the truth, for telling his truth, not following the religious line. Yeah. So we are spiritual beings having a human experience. I was talking with Tony Browder one day, and I said to him, well, what to introduce the idea of spirituality to people in a kind of framework. I said, which, is there any recommendations? And he said, well, if it's just an open thing, rather than get into like a directly African thing, because if you've been Christianized, going to an African context can be like a bucket of cold water, and your family might think you've gone crazy. Be crazy, gone crazy. So that's if you go there. So you could, and then even if you become a Muslim, you go, oh, they really gone mad, But then there's a book and a DVD called Seat of the Soul by Gary Yakov. Very, very, very interesting book, a very interesting take on things to get about beingness through the soul, right? So this whole idea here, let's go here. We've got the spiritual realm. We're looking at the spiritual realm in yellow, and then goes in there, and then this is the spiritual realm all in yellow. Now, in human terms, where will that spiritual realm be? Can you guess?
In the stars, in the ether.
In the stars, in the ether.
The ether.
Do you remember a title of a book by Dr. Yosef Ben-Jochannan? And he said that heaven is between a black woman's legs. And he's not talking about anything smutty. He's talking about the symbolic usage of goddess Nut, of the Neteru Nut, whose body is the stars and is the night sky. And then she gives birth in the morning to the sun every morning, and then that returns to her mouth at night.
Wow.
Who manifests human life? I know they're trying to get guys to be able to do it. In fact, I was watching a documentary about Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he did a film about that where he gives birth. And that's about, what, 30 years old? But when you're looking at that, the manifester of life is the woman, is the mother. And so therefore, when you're looking at, that's why the word material, when you're materialized, is based on the word marta, meaning mother. So when we're looking at materials and changing materials or whatever, that's in actual fact, that's the female realm. That's the beginning of life. The begin be jinn. So jinn meaning spirit. So here, all of this dynamic here, number one, it starts off with parental intention. It says recreation or recreation. It's the same word. So you can ask yourself, was the sex that created me when mommy and daddy were getting jiggy with it? We're, throwing the hoochie wally, we're macking it, daddy was macking it, mama was, whatever. And you see, a lot of people don't want to talk about that. Oh, my mother and father never had sex. The very sex they don't want to watch or talk about is the one that actually created them. Your point of origin, your beginning of life, they don't want to talk about. But that's the bottom line. That's where we start from. And so when we got this dynamic, parental intention, was it intended? Were you a planned birth, or were you a so-called accident? You can't have an accident, by the way. Once you introduce that into that, yes, it's deliberate. So no one's an accident of birth. It may not have been planned, but there's no accidents when that goes to that, even the worst circumstances. So there goes recreation or recreation. Next one is conception. Remember, to conceive can be not just physically, you can conceive ideas, yes? You can conceive ideas. We'll get to that in a little while. The next one, we have the pregnancy. Like I said, Bruce Lee, 33 Chinese years, 32 European years. That time in the womb is classed as a year. And that's your first classroom. the womb, your class womb. From 7 months old, you can hear. You experience everything your mother experiences. Yes? That's your first learning. And then you go to the next one, we go to birth, and then childhood is split from formative development. So give me the child before the age of 7, and I will give you the man. Remember, man means mind. It doesn't mean male. It doesn't mean adult. It means mind. It's Sanskrit, Indian. Give me the child before the age of 7, and I will give you the man. I will give you the mind. So that becomes an important facet. So they know exactly what they're doing with education, training us to think a certain way. They will believe a certain way. And then we go here to 7 years old, is getting ready for puberty, adolescence preparation. My own son went through puberty age 9, maybe because he eats a lot of chicken. Maybe, I don't know. But then what happens is, you remember that there's certain cultures for girl children, they say old enough to bleed, old enough to cut. And so they turn around, if she starts her cycle, she's old enough to have sex and therefore old enough to marry. In this society, we're going to go like, no. But in general, that's why you have all these different things going on. It's a very controversial subject. But please remember this, in this country, there was no age of consent until the 1930s. Then it was 13 years old. Then in the 60s, it moved up to 16 years old. So these are the kind of things that puberty and adolescence preparation, we're meant to be getting ready to regenerate ourselves, have that ability. So puberty, the physical, adolescence, the mental. And what's supposed to bind both is the spiritual. We then go to 13 years old, and then we have self-governance and social literacy. From that age, we need to be understanding certain things. I was asked to talk to a young Nigerian kid today, who really is not into his culture, 14 years old, kicked out of school. Big, tall, handsome brother. And I was asked, I just happened to be in the place. They said, will you talk to him? I was off with him. And I said, what's your name? And he said, Joshua. I said, what's your family name? I went, huh? So who's your father? And he called the name Odiri. I said, Odiri? I said, that's my brother-in-law's former thing. You're Igbo then. But it turns out he's like Igbo, Benin, whatever. And we started talking all about that stuff. And then I was just listening to the Burna Boy track, who talks about the fact that Nigeria, the country, was bought by the British government. I think it's 860, is it 800? I might have got it written down somewhere. £863,000 they paid in 1914 for Nigeria, the land, the protectorate. So Nigeria started as a business deal from the Royal Niger Company. So this boy, I'm dropping this stuff on him. He's going, what? No idea, clueless. Not showing him anything about his heritage or whatever, and he's 14 years old. Keeping him in the so-called dark. Yeah? What do we have here then? Adulthood preparation, 19 years old. Consciously getting ready to become, a junior adult at 25, which lasts to 37 years old when you become a senior adult. You go to 49, you become a junior elder. At 61, become a senior elder. That's where I'm at now. At that phase in my life. 73, become a wise elder. And then 85, then ancestral preparation, which should have been going all the way through, not to fear death. The only thing we're certain of in life, whatever age you're going to shuffle off this mortal coil, we go through, could be 85 and beyond, we'll go through death and then ancestry. But then certain people, certain beliefs we have, we reincarnate. Now, the reason I put this dude here, Emperor Justinian, is because they cut out the idea of reincarnation due to his wife. His wife had slept her way to his bed, and this is how the story goes. So Justinian's wife, Theodora, has slept her way to his bed and had done some pretty terrible things, and so did not want to believe that there would be a repercussions for her in her next life. So she persuaded her husband to ban the teaching of reincarnation. So you only have one life. What I'm putting to you is that from the womb to the tomb, ideas of this cycle are very important. Yesterday, someone sent me through. It was, oh my God, where's the sister's name gone now? She's one of the Jegna in there, who I showed before, a writer, brilliant, Maya Angelou.
Oh.
And she was talking about the fact that when she came to terms with the fact she was going to die, it liberated her and allowed her to flow and know and do all the things that she had to do before she's ready to go. And it was a release, because we live in a society where fear of death is one of the key things. So look what happened when the pandemic started, or plandemic started. Look what happened. News, fear, hitting us all the time. And look how different leaders jumped in. Look at Ghana and what happened in Ghana. Jumped in and believed it more than anybody else. Now all these things are coming out about the fact, oh yeah, you had to have the vaccination. You had to have that. Now they're actually showing and they're admitting, no, they didn't have to do that. Look at the terrorism that that Nick Hancock was doing. Oh, we're going to release another variant. Scare the shit out of the population. So all these things are going on. That's why I love, there's a quote by Kwame Nkrumah. It was so funny, one of my book of dumb things, the axioms of sayings of Kwame Nkrumah. I was looked at one of my favorite things. There's no religion higher than truth from Blavatsky. Another one of my favorites is the secret of life is to have no fear. So I got a copy of the axioms of Kwame Nkrumah. I was looking for that quote in it. Where is it? Where? I was looking through it. I spent about, it must have been about 4 hours looking, thinking, this is not a big book. I must have read it page by page by page. And I couldn't find it. And where was it? In the inside bloody cover.
Oh, no.
The inside cover. The secret of life is to have no fear. But think about this, our life, we're flowing through. So the idea of the Jegna is someone of high caliber. Do you know, I'll give you two things very quickly about Jewish culture. Number one, Jewish people do not have a word for history. I don't know if I mentioned this to you before. They don't have a word for history. They have a word zakar, which means memory.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no history. Why? History is outside. Memory is inside.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So zakar, that's one of the key things. Another thing to look at is they have a term mensch. And a mensch is like an uncle who provides for his community, his family, his friends, the community, whatever. Someone who cares, but also financially. At the minute, I can help anybody with anything. Financially, not that level yet. But that's my key intention, is about my legacy. Now I'm being pleased. So, mensch. Jegna. Make sense? Yeah. So this is the idea. Get past all of this kind of the AD 553 banning of Emperor Jacinth of the Byzantine, ends the Christian teaching of reincarnation. And that goes into there. I allege that also was an influence in Islam, because they say that no, it's when you're dead, you're dead. You go to paradise. You don't come back again. Yeah, are saying we need to be reconsidering the traditional things out of Kemet, the traditional things from Africa, West Africa, Central, and whatever. So let's go here. Modes of action. These are some of the things that I'll put here: the right brain, heart; the left brain, mind. and these relationships that go on. You can get this idea, linear containment means that your heart is confined by, the linear is contained. So you know those people who are all heart and they're like, oh yes, I want to do this, I want to do that. And they go run around like that. They're rolling all over the bloody place. And you say, yo, have you got a method to what you're doing? Or is it just all, woo? Yeah, like this. Grace Jones, slave to the rhythm. But then over here, cyclic contained means that I'm a robot. I will do what I'm saying. Yes, I don't have feelings. I do. You understand me? But what there needs to be is a synthesis of the two. And this is, by the way, I'll show you in a second. So modes of action, this synthesis is right and left brain operating together. This is a true relationship. A true relationship. That's the word discipline. We have the disc and the line, the disc and the line. And the ip is the Greek word for horse. And the animals associated with power, horsepower. So what we've got here, you see, this is the coat of arms of the Netherlands. Not only have they got a lion, king of beasts, one of those people has got a sword in his hand. So look at the lion, and he's got a sword in his hand. King of beasts. Over here, this is a symbol of Sankofa. This is a heart symbol. And here I put the egg. On top with the lineage crown from Kemet. And I think Tony Browder in one of the tombs of Shashank from the 25th dynasty, and he's on the roof of the tomb. It's got a Sankofa symbol, a Sankofa heart that is seen there. That's in the 25th dynasty. That's late. Well, these are some of the things that could be cross-cultural ideas, because we know the Kemites dealt with heart as a major thing. Remember, your heart is the first organ to be formed in the body of a fetus. The heart, not the brain, the heart. Then we've got here, gender awareness, professional agenda, and also your personal agenda, which is that healing. So whatever we're doing, hopefully we're going to be. Profession. Ourselves in our personal profession. Okay. So here, I call it. I'm professionally, I'm personally, confident. And if you remember, Marcus Garvey, he said if you have no confidence in self, you're twice defeated in the race that is life. With confidence, you've won even before you have started. But what I want to go to with that is another thing is intention. Nia in Arabic is nia, but as we say in Kiswahili, nia is purpose. So intention and purpose is about planning and making sure that we know what we're going to do, why we're going to go and do it. Intention and purpose. A jegna is someone, as we get older, we become more proficient at doing those things. And hopefully that people will watch us doing those things, the planning. I've got to say, I didn't go about things correctly back in 2019. Is it 2019, 2020? 2020, I lost £15,000 to a conference venue because the pandemic started. And they were saying, oh, yeah, well, we'll give you an opportunity to put it on. And I said, no one's biting. No one's going to be coming to a thing. They're not going to invest their monies to come to a conference when it can be called off at the last minute or any minute. And so they're not keeping money. So that was failing. My failure to plan. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. It was the pandemic, you know.
What can I say? I didn't think about it. So what did we have? Being fully rehumanized means taking responsibility for my actions. That's a human being being responsible. I don't project it out to anybody else. I said, I'm responsible for me. And that's a percent to try to build that. So care from the womb to the tomb means that it's your game all the way through. Now, let me say this. This is a question a lot of people don't register with. And the question is, why did you pick your parents? Because that means you're a soul being who came with an intention into life. Whereas a lot of people just think, oh no, I'm a result of Jockey Jam. You understand me? So that's why did you pick your parents? And then when we start going to the 10 virtues, and it says evidence of a mission in life, the blessing is if we can realize what we're here to do in a mission in this life. Spiritual beings having a physical experience. So we're nearly finished. Mother and child, the true throne. So this is looking at the European. This is the blue-eyed, blonde-haired Jesus, which we know comes from older times. Now, I don't know if you saw this online. This is a child's birth song. I got told that this is a nonsense, that it's not true. But I tell you what, makes so much sense. Bit like the Willie Lynch speech. It says the Himba tribe of Namibia in southern Africa, down south, the date of a birth of a child is fixed, not at the time of its arrival in the world, nor in its design, but much earlier, since the day the child is thought in their mother's mind. So remember I said about recreation or recreation? What was the intention? So someone's put this here, whether it's free or not, they're talking about the intention before the womb. Intention. So it says here, when a woman decides she's going to have a child, she settles down and sits under a tree and listens until she can hear the song of the child who wants to be born. After she hears the child's song, she comes back to the man who will become the father of the child to teach him that song. Then, when they make love to physically design the child, they sing the child's song to invite them to manifest. When the mother has become pregnant, she teaches the child's song to the midwives and older women of the village. So when the child is born, old women and people around him sing the song to welcome him. As the child grows, other villagers learn his song. So if the child fails or gets hurt, he always finds someone to pick him up and sing his song. Similarly, the child does something wonderful or successfully passes through the rites of passage, the people of the village sing the song to honor him. In the tribe, there is another opportunity where villagers sing for the child. And this is any time during his life, the person commits an abhorrent crime or social act. The individual is called to the center of the village and the people of the community form a circle around him. Then they sing his song. The tribe recognizes that the correction of antisocial behavior does not pass through punishment. It is by love and the reminder of identity. When you recognize your own song, you don't want or need to do anything that would harm the other. And the same way through their lives. In marriage, songs are sung together. And when getting old, this child is lying in their bed, ready to die. All the villagers know their song, and they sing for the last time their birth song. Womb to the tomb. Yeah. So the mother's the nurturer. A couple of slides. This is the ancient throne. She carries the power and human potential through her DNA. So these are images that we know well from the African-centered schools. Yeah? So this is what you're seeing here. One's the nurturing crown of the throne with the cow's horns and the sun disk. This other one's the throne on the head. But both are nurturing the child, the power of the child. So the suckler and lineage. The suckler and lineage. The milk of human kindness. And so the player of progress. You see what happens is we have the emotional and rational, the feminine and the masculine. These are the brain hemispheres are denoted. And you got the word individual, which means in, divide, dual. This is in all of us. We have masculine, and feminine. but there can be predominance in thought and function. You can have masculine women and feminine men. That's why there was a book written by John Gray called Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. If you know that book. But what we actually have is this seeking the balance between the two, because if we can get that balance within self, we can hopefully form relationships and get balance outside of ourselves. So I say, mind you don't play yourself. Because you know the term player. People say player. It's not player, it's play her. Play the feminine. Tap in on that, mess around with that. So I'll finish with these things. The right brain is like a ball, left brain like a block. We know that if we go out of a room and leave a ball and block on the table, when we come back, the block is going to be there, but the ball may not be there. And that's something that we need to probably look at. So the ball and the block. And then finally, read the symbol. What's that symbol saying there? It's the on-off switch, yes? We see it every day and different things when we switch on, or we don't notice it. So here, masculine, the feminine, the socket. Yeah? Yeah? There's the coupling. There's the male masculine. There's the male masculine. There's the... Now in engineering, they call male and female. Now in engineering, they call male and female.
Oh dear.
So every time
gender neutral one.
So every time. So think about this. Do you get turned on? So something turns you on. It means that you become so-called sexually or creatively active, right? And that is going on all the time. So to put this computer on, I have to slip into the female and then turn it on and switch it on. Then I'll button turn on, so everything's turned on, left, right, and center, right? So that's a creation of action and function. And so where is the energy source held? Where's the energy source held? It's in the socket. So turn on, read the symbol now. What's that symbol saying there? Dirty, innit? It's rude. But this is what we call the shank or the ankh. It's the symbolism of the two. So this is where switching on. This is masculine connected to the right brain. To the right brain. That's our intention and what we do. That's our intention and what we do. From the womb to the tomb, we're meant to be. From the womb to the tomb, creative process. We're meant to be getting that whole creative process going.
Wow.
So, oh, sorry, just let me finish this. By the way, see what's there. Sorry, just let me finish this. By the way, see what's there. This is called the obelisk division. Yes, this is called the obelisk, the division sign. Division. The obelisk. Yes, the obelisk comes from the Greek word for sharpened sticks or pointed pillars. Comes from the Greek word obelisk or pointed pillar. This is the same to the word obelisk. The obelisk was first used as a symbol for the division in 1650. The obelisk was first used as a symbol for the division in 1650 by Johann Rahn. Every time we're in mass, we're doing mass. We're using ancient Kemetic circles. We're in mass, we're doing mass. We're using ancient Kemetic. Not a penis and two testicles. It's actually saying that the mass has been a penis and two testicles. It's actually saying that the mass, this is the function of the obelisk. This is the function of the obelisk in the hands of a set. Remember, was in the hands of a set. So these are the things that learning from the womb to the
these are the things that
and building the skills and awareness of the Jagna, and these things that we think we know.
the skills and awareness of the Jagna, and these
We have
things
to
that we
respect
think
it
we
and have
know.
another look at it.
To read, we have to respect it and have another look at it.
I mean, there's so much that you've covered in there, my beloveds. And the thing about it is that most of us would never have even have touched on any of this in school, college, and university. Wow. Just checking that you're hearing me. You hearing me, Paul? Are you hearing me? Oh, I'm not on mute. Oh, what happened there? Where's my guest gone? Oh, what happened there, family? I'm still live. I was talking to our brother, and suddenly he wasn't hearing me. I can see that my computer is going a bit slow, as it has been throughout, but it looks as though I'm still with you. Apologies, we have lost our guest, but hopefully he'll be coming back very shortly. And wow, what a session. And the learning was just incredible. There's such a big difference, isn't there, between educare and educare, and he explained that for us so well. And you know, it's so true within the Eurocentric education system. It's all about the educare, which is, you know, from the outside in. So we're indoctrinated, and you know, we're programmed to think a certain way, to, you know, have knowledge of their concepts, their ideologies, their principles, their everything. And we don't really get the educare education that we ought to, which is, you know, bringing out our natural talents and our gifts that we've actually come to this earth with. And so, major difference there. I wonder if my brother Paul is going to be coming back to join me before the end of the show, because we are almost at the top of the hour. Family in the chat, I've seen, you know, your comments and everything, absolutely phenomenal, that the conversations that you're having between each other. If you have a question for our brother, hopefully he'll be able to come back in time so that you can actually put one or two questions to him. But we are almost out of time. And what a beautiful cycle of life. That's something else that, you know, our brother introduced to us today. And, you know, it was just so clear, you know, where we are on that cycle of life. All of us can find ourselves on that cycle of life. Something else as well that we're not taught of in that way, or I certainly wasn't taught of in that way in school, college, or university here in the UK. But, you know, our brother just presented it so beautifully there for us. I was looking at where I actually am on the cycle of life. And the other beautiful thing about that cycle as well is the bit at the beginning. Oh, our brother is back. What happened? You run out of power on your computer or something just as you finish. I think our brother's audio is just connected at the moment. But yeah, the beginning of that presentation as well, where, you know, we were talking about the need to expand that knowledge, you know, the history at the bottom line there, key. You know, we're talking about tens of thousands of years of history, possibly millions of years of history. So we really need to expand our knowledge and to do the research to find out that which has been hidden from us for so long, because, you know, even the knowledge of our pharaohs and our kings on the wall behind me that our brother has on his scroll, you know, we don't even learn about them in their correct context either. Are you hearing me yet, my brother Paul?
I can hear you.
Are you hearing me?
Yes. Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, we lost you.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad to have you back. I want to thank you so much for that very interesting, deeply insightful presentation, where again, you know, we have just learned so much from you, my brother. You know, we lost you right at the end there. What happened?
Oh, I pushed the wrong button.
think there's a slight delay.
Oh, I pushed the wrong button.
Oh, that's what happened. Okay. Well, everyone in the chat, they're saying, oh, no, last 10 minutes, mash up my sisters. Okay. My sound is muffled. My apologies for that. Oh my gosh, if it's not one thing, it's something else. Papa Cheesy, good to have you in the house all the way from Bermuda as well. And I also saw our beloved Go Travel Abroad. Yeah, good to have you in the house as well. So much. I'm sounding choppy. He says, but sounding choppy and echoey. Apologies. So I'm not going to stay on here sounding choppy and muffled. It's not one thing, something else. Let me allow our brother to leave us with some closing remarks. Brother Paul, thank you.
No, thank you for the thanks for the invitation. Yeah.
No, thank you for the thanks for the invitation. Yeah.
As always, you know, highly valued, my brother. Phenomenal works. I think I've got some problems on my end with the sound. There seems to be a big delay. So let me just zip to allow you to leave us with some closing remarks.
No, I just say, yeah, it's been good. I enjoyed preparing.
Being good.
I
enjoy
and thank you for the invitation. And keep up the good work.
And thank you for the invitation. And please keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. We value you. We value the work that you do, the education and the knowledge that you are providing for us. You know, the works that you're doing. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I don't want to stay long because I realize that there are challenges here. I just want to let everybody know that next strong we have a powerhouse panel lined up for you. We've got brothers coming from the Congo to present to you next strong. 3 powerful activists from the Congo. So we're going to get a good idea of what's happening right now in the region that we refer to as the Congo. So let me leave it there for now. Apologies for the technicals. We've got one thing, we've got something else. But love you all, everybody in the audience. Thank you so much for joining us. Brother Paul, thank you so much. Please share this video, share the learning. As always, there's just so much knowledge in there that you're not going to get anywhere else. Stay strong, stay powerful, Brother Paul, and to everyone in the audience, more power, more strength, and more good to you as well. Sister Carmen, I saw you in the house. More good to you as well. One love, family. Sister